I say this every election cycle, and I'll say it again. The 2024 political field was intense, so don't get left behind in 2025. If you're running for office, the first thing on your to-do list should be securing your name on the web. With a yourname.vote domain from GoDaddy.com, you'll stand out and make your mark. Don't wait. Get yours today.
Sam and I are always talking about being prepared, whether it's hurricanes in Florida, earthquakes in California, flooding in Arizona, or supply chain disruptions.
Exactly, Chuck. When pharmacies shut down, it does not matter how tough you are, you still need access to critical medicine.
That's why we trust Jace Medical. The Jace case comes with 5 life-saving antibiotics and key over-the-counter meds, so you're covered when things get disrupted.
And Jace goes beyond just the Jace case. They also offer first aid kits, daily prescriptions, and long-term nutrition with Jace Pantry. Don't wait for the next hurricane warning or natural disaster. Take control of your health and peace of mind today.
Visit jace.com and use code FUTURE at checkout for $10 off your order. That's FUTURE at JASE.com. To run a successful business, you need one thing: customers. And how do you get customers? You get them through advertising. You get them through lead generation. But what happens if the leads don't exist or they don't have valid contact information? This is a familiar story all businesses deal with. Then they call these leads who don't exist, or they're bad numbers, or they're not in their service area. Argus 101 verifies every lead before your team picks up the phone. It's a real person in your area and a neighborhood that matches your ideal customer. Your team only calls people worth calling, thus saving you money. Free trial at argus101.com. That's ARGUS101.com. Help your business expand today. Go to argus101.com. ARGUS101.com.
Welcome to another episode of Breaking Battlegrounds with your host, Chuck Warren. I'm Sam Stone. Our first guest today is Ilya Shapiro, Senior Fellow and Director of the Constitutional Studies at the Manhattan Institute and contributing editor of City Journal, previously Executive Director and Senior Lecturer at Georgetown Center for the Constitution. Ilya Shapiro, welcome to the program.
Good to be with you.
Mr. Shapiro, you're known as an expert on the Supreme Court and the judicial system. My first question is for our audience. What makes the American judicial system so unique, and what do you love about it?
Well, I wouldn't say it's unique in the sense that, other systems have judges, they apply the law. Sure. What the great American innovation was the idea that we establish government to secure and protect our liberties, and then force it to check itself, both through federalism, the division of power between states and the federal government, and within the federal government among the branches. And so the judicial branch is supposed to be independent, and judges serve for life. They're not supposed to be buffeted by the same kinds of political pressures that the elected branches, Congress, the legislative, and the president in the executive are. We have seen, whether in recent history or throughout American history, people of all different political persuasions sometimes liking and sometimes being frustrated with what judges determine. And I think it's when judges are seen as trying to do something other than enforce their view of the law that we get in trouble with lack of confidence, loss of confidence in the judiciary.
So you just specifically said they're supposed to be independent of political pressure, but that leads us directly into an article you recently posted on your Substack. The left's Supreme Court pressure campaign heats up again. How independent of political pressure is the High Court and our other courts right now, given that there is a concerted and organized campaign to essentially remove that and make them a political arm?
Well, we're recording this just about an hour or less after the Virginia Supreme Court invalidated the referendum to amend the state constitution to gerrymander Virginia for federal House seats. And most of the members of the Virginia Supreme Court were appointed by Democrats, by the legislature. It's an odd appointment process in Virginia. Even though the ruling was 4-3, but it seemed like that court resisted the political pressure to just rubber stamp the campaign. And the Supreme Court also, you can have disagreements with individual justices. Lord knows I do. But I don't think in many cases are they not acting on their sometimes flawed legal judgments. And I think too many times critics accuse the Supreme Court of just being partisans in robes, but that's not what they're doing. Instead, and this is a development that I detailed in one of my books, Supreme Disorder, Judicial Nominations and the Politics of America's Highest Court, what you have is the culmination of several trends where different interpretive theories map onto partisan preference at a time when the parties are more polarized and sorted ideologically than they've been since at least the Civil War, if not ever. So unfortunately, people do see the court often as red and blue, if not just conservative and liberal. But I don't question the justice's good faith.
So at the end of April, we had the 6-3 decision of Louisiana versus Calais. Hope I'm doing my French right on that, which narrowed the use of race-based redistricting. Can you explain to our audience more about that ruling and what it means to current and future redistricting?
Sure. This goes to what I've referred to as the Goldilocks standard of using race for drawing districts. That is, under long-held interpretations of the Voting Rights Act, states have been required to consider race to enable racial minorities to, quote, have the opportunity to elect a candidate of their choice. But if those states drawing those districts use race too much, then they violate equal protection under the 14th Amendment. And in this case, Louisiana put out some maps, got sued. A court enjoined that map, saying that they had to create a second majority-minority district. And so they did, and then Louisiana got sued from the other side, saying that this disenfranchises other kinds of voters. And this case was actually argued in the Supreme Court last term. The court could not come up with a resolution. They asked for further briefing. And finally here, they determined by a 6-3 majority that the Voting Rights Act does not require the use of race in drawing districts. It can be used as a remedy if you're accusing a state of using race to disenfranchise people. Then you can bring that claim, but it doesn't require you to draw majority-minority districts, and states can indeed use purely partisan considerations in gerrymandering. The Supreme Court had previously said that politicians taking politics into account, the Constitution is silent about that. And so now states will be free to draw their districts in various ways, as long as they're not saying, oh, we want to disenfranchise this race of voters or some other minority. They're okay for Voting Rights Act grounds.
So one of the things then is if they can sue to claim, on that basis, as you just described, do you expect to see a wave of lawsuits coming from these quick red state redistricting, where they're now taking advantage of this ruling and moving very quickly to redistrict and eliminate a lot of these racially gerrymandered districts?
This cycle, that's not happening too much because in many states primaries have started, maps have been locked, etc. But we could see more of that further redistricting next year ahead of the 2028 elections, because we're in permanent election cycles, I guess. The answer to your question is I don't see any viable litigation in federal court under federal law. But again, to refer to the Virginia case that was just decided, the Florida's new districts are in court there under state law grounds, and you can't generalize. The problem in Virginia was that The Democrats who passed a new map, who wanted the constitutional amendment to draw new districts, didn't follow the right procedures in terms of having an intervening general election and other such technical issues. But in other states, it works differently. So I think we'll see litigation in the different states, but it'll all have to fit into state law grounds.
What are some? So I also understand that there's some last-ditch efforts, or there were, to rein in this ruling, and the Supreme Court shot that down. Does that happen often when there's a ruling, then there becomes a counter last-ditch efforts to overturn that ruling? Is that new?
Well, there are a couple of things. I mean, these weren't, I don't think, too serious. The first bit of filings was normally when a Supreme Court issues a decision on any issue, doesn't have to be election law. It takes 32 days, a month effectively, plus a business day, to for it to go into effect. Well, here Louisiana was saying, look, we've had to postpone our primary elections. We need to do new maps. Make this active immediately so we can go ahead. And the court ruled 8-1 on that motion, allowing, making the decision go into effect. But then there was an attempt by an intervening party at the NAACP to have the court reconsider its ruling. The court exceedingly rarely reconsiders its rulings. There have to be something pointed out, like you didn't get this law right, or that you didn't take into account this fact that was completely not briefed. This was not that kind of situation, and so the court, without any noted dissent, batted away that attempt to block the decision.
How long do they even ask for the additional disclosure or discussion, as you mentioned earlier?
The addition. I'm sorry.
When you said they wanted to keep considering it, that it was brought up last term, and they asked for whether it was additional briefings or whatever it was.
That happens every now and again, that the court can't come up with a decision, and they ask the parties for certain things that hadn't been clear and hadn't been briefed. It happens from time to time. Nobody really knows why they did that last term, but it went through a second full round of briefing and a second full round of argument.
Oh, yeah, a question. So the Supreme Court currently has about a 40% approval rating. 10 years ago it was 60%. And you clearly have this divided society. Whenever they make a decision, they just pound them on it. What can we do, or what can happen that, it's important to trust institutions. What needs to happen to increase that approval rating?
Particularly the Supreme Court.
Yeah, I mean, what needs to happen?
Well, the Supreme Court its confidence, the public confidence in it, is higher than it was right after the decision in Dobbs, the decision overturning Roe v. Wade. So it goes up and down. I don't know about that 60% figure. I think you have to go back farther than 10 years to hit that. The issue is we're at a time of historically low public confidence in institutions generally. And the Supreme Court enjoys more public confidence than Congress, the presidency, I think any federal institution other than the military. So it's just a part and parcel of the time we're living in, rather than what the court is doing. What is new, what is different, is the partisan or ideological divide. So liberals or Democrats versus Republicans or conservatives. That gap in trust in the court has never been wider. And so that's a function of the polarization of our society more broadly, and people looking at the results and seeing whether they like them or not.
We have just a minute left in this segment.
By the way, I just looked up. It was 61% in 2009. This is the last time it was 60%, 2009.
We have just a minute left here, but has there been a period? There's been some fairly contentious arguments on the court between the justices lately. I don't remember that. I'm 50 years old. I don't remember that level of contentiousness. Is there a precedent for this in Supreme Court history?
Yes. There's very little new under the sun. There have been cases where certain justices didn't want to even appear in the same photograph or even a reception, anything other than in the courtroom where they had to be there to hear cases. They didn't want to be in the same place with the other justice. They hated them so much. Sometimes for idiosyncratic personal reasons, sometimes out of anti-Semitism, for example. There have been cases where justices there have been falling outs. There have been.
It's easy to forget that they're people, right? We're coming back with more from Ilya Shapiro here in just a moment. Stay tuned. Breaking Battlegrounds. Be right back. All right, welcome back to Breaking Battlegrounds. We're going to continue on with our interview with Ilya Shapiro, Senior Fellow and Director of Constitutional Studies at the Manhattan Institute here in just a moment. But first, Chuck has a word from our sponsor.
Folks, did you know that private student loan debt in the United States totals $300 billion, and that $45 billion of that is labeled as distressed? Sam and I recommend, if you're defaulting or behind on your private student loan, contact YREFI at YREFY.com. They can provide you with a custom loan payment based on your ability to pay. They don't look at credit scores. They're not a debt settlement company. They work with each borrower to find and tailor a loan that fits your financial needs and allows you to pay this loan off. And you'll never pay an interest rate above 6%. So call 877-400-9989 and tell them Sam and Chuck sent you, or visit YREFY.com.
Fantastic. We're continuing on now with Ilya Shapiro. Ilya, you have a great piece out in City Journal, Justice Thomas's Constitution, really talking about Clarence Thomas coming into his own moment on the court. Can you tell people a little bit about that? Because Chuck and I are big fans of his and have been for a long time. I'm glad to see people more broadly recognizing his impact.
Well, he's now the senior most associate justice, meaning after the Chief Justice, he's the one who served the longest, and indeed this week he became the second longest ever serving justice in American history. He has 2 years to go to become the longest serving justice, and that's why when people ask whether he's going to retire, I say not before the end of May of 2028, because I think he wants to get there. And he's never had more influence, more power, not simply because of longevity, but because the court is a solid originalist, textualist court looking at constitutional provisions based on what they meant when they were enacted. And that is the way that Thomas approaches his interpretation. Justice Scalia once said that Thomas is a firmer originalist than even he. I think that's a great compliment.
Extraordinary.
And he's very different than others on the court in various ways. But you know, he's been there ever since he's been on the court, almost 35 years now. We were talking about political pressure earlier. He simply does not care. He will decide cases. He will vote how he wants. He's one of the I think top 10 historically number of solo dissents, meaning on the losing side of 8-1 opinions. He doesn't care. He will call them as he sees them, and that's it. And I think you're right that he's finally getting his due.
In terms of the coming session on the court, what are some things that people should be looking out for? What are the impactful cases that are on their docket coming up?
Well, we can't really look at the coming term, meaning the one that starts next fall, because we're now heading into the end of term for this term, and there are a lot of big cases that haven't been decided. Birthright citizenship, for example, presidential removal of heads of so-called independent agencies, state laws blocking the participation of biological males in women's sports, and others. There are still a lot of blockbusters to come. It's this Louisiana versus Calais is certainly a big one. The tariff ruling that came a couple of months ago was a big one, but we still have a bunch more, campaign finance and others that we'll be talking about at the end of June.
What's the campaign finance one? I hadn't even heard of it.
I hadn't either. What is that?
It was argued back in October. That's why you've forgotten it. But it's there's a rule against parties and candidates coordinating their spending. It's really outmoded. It's really bizarre. I think it'll fall and maybe not on 6-3 partisan lines.
That's actually thank you for the reminder. That's actually a big issue because there's a lot of campaigns in party committees waiting to see what they can spend on canvassing and if they can coordinate with the campaigns is actually a big deal. It's the reason they give right now for not starting things, because we're waiting for this ruling.
Absolutely.
So what do you see? What are some future issues the Supreme Court do you see are going to have to undertake here? So, for example, how do you think they're going to handle AI things? I mean, we're getting to that point now, right, where there's AI and what guardrails are put on it. Do you see those type of issues coming up to the court?
The court will be very cautious. To the extent that we see new laws or regulations, the court will be cautious, as it always is with technology cases, whether they sound in a challenge to some administrative rule, on technical grounds, whether it's in the context of intellectual property, patents, and the like. They don't want to look foolish. They recognize that they are not at the cutting edge of technology policy and understanding the science behind it, the engineering, what have you. They don't want to put in a rule that 5 years later will look foolish. And so when these issues come up, probably not next term. I haven't heard of AI-related cases trickling up to the court. It's going to be baby steps. But something that I think the court will have to grapple with is parental rights, partly over school districts secretly transitioning kids in terms of gender identity. They've turned down a couple of those cases after issuing a ruling blocking something out of California earlier this year, but I think that kind of issue is going to return to the court. We'll see economic regulations being challenged as being going beyond the Commerce Clause power, the federal power to regulate interstate commerce. There's a split now, a couple of recent rulings on home distilling. And the question is, what is the federal government doing regulating what kind of, whether it's booze or anything else that you're making in your own home for your own consumption? And so the court has not pushed back on the broad powers of the federal government in quite some time, but that's coming up.
Well, the Supreme Court may be some of the smartest grandparents in the country, but I don't think anyone in this country wants their grandparents determining the future of technology. So I think caution is good there.
Let me ask this. Do you think we're ever going to find who the leaker was of the Dobbs case?
I don't think so. I mean, unless they themselves reveal themselves. The way that the search was conducted, with the justices themselves apparently weren't interviewed. Devices weren't fully secured with full forensic analysis. At this point, it's gone too long, and so unless somebody in some tell-all memoir down the road reveals him or herself, that's going to remain secret.
Fantastic. Ilya Shapiro, folks, you can follow him at iShapiro on X. You can go to his Substack, which is phenomenal, ilyashapiro.substack.com.
Shapiro's Gavel is the Shapiro's Gavel is the colloquial name for it. Yep.
Oh,
very
fantastic.
nice. That's a good one. Any other tidbits or ways people should stay in touch with you and the work you're doing?
Sure. All of my writings and briefs go up on my page at the Manhattan Institute. The website is just manhattan.institute, and you can find me there. And you can look at my books wherever fine and not so fine books are sold. Lawless, my last book about the miseducation of America's elites, and Supreme Disorder, which I mentioned about judicial politics.
Folks, for the first 5 people that DM us on Facebook, we will provide you with a copy of Lawless, The Miseducation of America's Elite.
Fantastic. Ilya Shapiro, thank you so much. Folks, stay tuned. We have another great guest coming up. Many of you follow Corey DeAngelis and his work on education. Breaking Battlegrounds, coming right back.
To run a successful business, you need one thing: customers. And how do you get customers? You get them through advertising. You get them through lead generation. But what happens if the leads don't exist or they don't have valid contact information? This is a familiar story all businesses deal with. Then they call these leads who don't exist, or they're bad numbers, or they're not in their service area. Argus 101 verifies every lead before your team picks up the phone. It's a real person in your area and a neighborhood that matches your ideal customer. Your team only calls people worth calling, thus saving you money. Free trial at argus101.com. That's ARGUS101.com. Help your business expand today. Go to argus101.com. ARGUS101.com. Hello, Breaking Battlegrounds listeners. Did you know that private student loan debt in the United States totals about $300 billion? That's with a B. About $45 billion of that is labeled as distressed, which means people are behind on payments. Why Refi, who is a proud sponsor of our show, refinances this distressed or defaulted private student loans that others won't touch. They don't even care what your credit score is. They provide you with a custom loan payment based on your ability to pay. Why Refi is not a debt settlement company. They work with each borrower individually to tailor a loan that meets your specific financial situation and helps you pay this loan off. So, folks, if you would like to learn more how to put your mind at ease and your budget back on track, call Why Refi at 877-400-9989 and tell them Sam and Chuck sent you. You can go and look into them at YREFI, YREFY.com to get more information. They will help you reduce your monthly payment and guarantee interest rates under 6%, ensuring financial relief to you as you pay off your private student loan. Jump on that website or call them today.
All right, imagine this. You're running for president. Yes, president. What's the first thing you need? Well, besides the $1 million fundraising, you need to secure your web domain. You need your name, .vote. Easy to remember, straight to the point, and a direct link to your campaign. No, but seriously, whether you're getting out to vote or convincing people that yes, you can fix the potholes on Main Street, a .vote domain helps you stand out. It's not just a website, it's a call to action. Head over to GoDaddy.com or name.com, type in your name, .vote, and boom, you're ready to make a lasting impact. Get started today with your .vote web address.
Sam and I are always talking about being prepared, whether it's hurricanes in Florida, earthquakes in California, flooding in Arizona, or supply chain disruptions.
Exactly, Chuck. When pharmacies shut down, it does not matter how tough you are, you still need access to critical medicine.
That's why we trust Jace Medical. The Jace case comes with 5 life-saving antibiotics and key over-the-counter meds, so you're covered when things get disrupted.
And Jace goes beyond just the Jace case. They also offer first aid kits, daily prescriptions, and long-term nutrition with Jace Pantry. Don't wait for the next hurricane warning or natural disaster. Take control of your health and peace of mind today.
Visit jace.com and use code FUTURE at checkout for $10 off your order. That's FUTURE at JASE.com.
In today's digital world, standing out is more important than ever. Whether you're running for office, leading a cause, or hosting a vote for the cutest pet in town, you need a web domain that's simple, memorable, and action-oriented. You need a .vote web domain. It's clear, impactful, and establishes a lasting presence for your campaign. Don't wait. Head to GoDaddy.com or name.com, type in your name, .vote, and get started today. Because after all, every pet deserves a web address that's as special as they are.
Welcome back to Breaking Battlegrounds. We're continuing on now with Corey DeAngelis, Senior Fellow at the American Culture Project. Corey, I love your resume because it's like every great institution you're working with. Executive Director at the Educational Freedom Institute, Senior Fellow at Reason, Adjunct Scholar at Cato, Board Member at Liberty Justice, Senior Advisor at Accuracy and Media. You're fighting all the fronts right now.
And now I'm at the Heritage Foundation as well.
Oh,
as
my
research
goodness.
fellow.
We may make you a Breaking Battlegrounds fellow.
There we go. Let's do it.
So when are people in Chicago going to wake up and just slam the Chicago Teachers Union, which is a complete mess? Those kids can't read. I think
$30,000, more than $30,000 a
Yes.
year per kid.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, and they have 80 public schools with not a single child proficient in math. I mean, how bad do you have to get?
How is that
far do you have to
possible?
fall?
How is that? No, I'm seriously. How is that possible?
Right. I mean, I don't know how it's possible, but look, it's even worse than that. They have empty schools there as well they're like zombie schools that the teachers unions won't allow to die and shut down. You could use that money better well spent at other schools that are doing a better job. They have one, Douglas Academy High School. It's a public school. It's not a special needs school. It's 97% empty. I couldn't believe it. I had to triple check, but it was built for over 1,000 kids. They only have 27 students enrolled there right now, and they have 28 employees, so more adults than children. And you just look at their spending patterns over time, it goes towards administrative bloat. Since 2019, they've lost 10% of their entire school K through 12 population, so they've lost like over 30,000 kids. Guess what they've done in their infinite wisdom? They've increased the number of total staff in the school system by 20%.
Aren't teachers unions just job programs for adults?
Yes, they're more of a jobs program for adults and administrators than an education initiative for kids. And in Chicago, that school that's basically empty, if you do the quick math there, operational spending alone is over $90,000 per student. You'd think they'd be knocking it out of the park, right? I mean, they got everything the union wants, but they have also 0 kids proficient in both math and reading. And Chicago's gotten so bad that just the other day during their May Day protest, of course, they chose a communist holiday to walk out and strike. It was worse than that. They used children as political pawns and took them to the rally using district school resources to basically indoctrinate your children and to lobby lawmakers to fight for more money. And then also just I got a hold of their curriculum as well in Chicago. They sent it to me accidentally, I guess, but they compared Trump to fascist dictators. They compared abolishing slavery to abolishing the police and prisons. Like, what in the world is going on? So the good news is that sometimes when you fall off the cliff, that's the only way for you to get back up. I see some signs of hope in Chicago even, where the latest polling shows that most Chicago voters have an unfavorable opinion of the Chicago Teachers Union. By their net favorability now is about negative 26%, and that's among Chicago Democrat voters. So this is a sign of good things to come, especially because a few months ago they had their primary elections in Illinois. The Chicago Teachers Union endorsed 13 candidates. Guess what? Most of them lost. So their political sway is waning, and their brand is becoming toxic, even in a deep blue city. So hopefully some Democrats even start to say, you know what, maybe we should do the right thing for parents and ditch the union.
You know, they should, but I think you and I will see pigs fly first. It's sort of like...
With genetic engineering's Chuck, we may get there.
Well, that's it. So we may see pigs fly first. But I view the teachers union in Chicago politics, all teachers unions, like Labor right now. Labor got their tail kicked in England last night. They're not being self-introspective. They're going on, they're racist, these people, they're aggrieved, all these things, instead of just looking and say, what are we providing, right? And it seems to me these teachers unions don't look and say, our product is bad. Half these kids don't even read at a high school grade level. And how you can say we're for the children and don't realize the requirement is that they have good math, and reading. You
got to be able to read and add and subtract.
I absolutely do not believe they care at all about these kids.
Yeah, you would think so. And it's not even like they care about their members either. I think they're alienating a lot of the members, especially the conservatives. And I've seen over the last year, there's a group called Teacher Freedom Alliance. They've had about 15,000 teachers leave their unions in the public sector and join this alternative because the teachers don't want their money going towards political campaigns anymore. If you look at where they spend the money, the National Education Association, according to their own LM2 publicly available reports to the Department of Labor, less than 9% of their funding actually goes towards representing teachers. I mean, it's bonkers. Most of it goes towards political activity, and out of that political spending, 99% goes to Democrats every cycle. It's a money laundering operation. And guess what? That same union, in their 2019 annual convention, they put it up to a vote. There was a resolution to rededicate themselves to being about student learning. Guess what? You'd think they'd pass it, but it went down in flames because they don't care about the kids. They don't really care about the members. They care about the union bosses like Becky Pringle, Randy Weingarten making over $500,000 a year. Guess what I also just found out? Randy Weingarten was telling people in a meeting, I posted it on X, that she bullied Target executives, sent them a letter telling them, look, we own 7% of your stock in our pension funds. You need to come out against ICE. Target refused to do so, and Randy Weingarten's union passed a resolution to boycott ICE. I mean, it's just crazy how far they've gotten out of their lanes. And I think that's why the teachers' unions are going down as well. They're becoming less influential. And there was a poll by Harvard, at all places, just this year showing that most voters now say that they believe teachers' unions should not be engaging in political activity. So I think lawmakers, it's up to them. Congress has a bill to revoke the NEA's federal charter, which they never should have got one to begin with, but especially not now that they're giving all their money to Democrats. They've just become a one-sided political operation.
In addition to the politics, should Republicans be talking directly to teachers and really pointing out that it's the dollars too that they're being hosed on? Because when we give money to schools and we say it's for teachers, it doesn't go to them. Their salaries remain flat.
Yeah, since 1970, per student spending in America has increased by 170%, even after adjusting for inflation. One, have the outcomes gotten 170% better? No, they've gotten worse. And two, have the teacher salaries risen by 170%? No, they actually haven't. They've only increased over that same period by about 3%. That's a rounding error. It basically hasn't changed in real terms since 1970. So the question is, where is the money going? Well, we have data on that since 2000. The number of students in the system has actually dropped over the past couple of decades, but the number of administrators in the public school system has increased by 95%. This is what happens when you operate a monopoly and people can't vote with their feet. We saw under the Biden regime that when parents tried to push back at school board meetings, they were labeled as domestic terrorists.
Right.
There were FBI threat tags created just for these parents. They were told to sit down, shut up. But I'm thankful that parents are locking arms now, and teachers are even locking arms and saying, you know what, the system is not for us. It doesn't care about us. It cares about the superintendents at the top, nobody else. And this is how we reclaim our education system. We have to fight back and beat the unions at their own game.
So Arizona this week graduated 40,000 high school students in career and technical education programs. I think this is a wonderful milestone. Do you see technical and career education programs exploding across the country? Are we getting back to having, auto body shop, stuff of that nature? What are you seeing on that?
Yeah, I'm seeing there's a resurgence in career and technical education. That's a huge step in the right direction. It's mostly Republicans that are pushing this kind of legislation, but you get some Democrats seeing the right side of history as well. And look, we've sold people a false bill of goods for a long time, saying that college is the only way to become educated and it's the only way to have a good job. But so many people have seen that that's a farce, that they graduate, if at all, with a ton of student debt, and then they're baristas at Starbucks. Why should, one, taxpayers have to fund for someone else's degree when they default and it's not a high value? And then two, we have a shortage of people in the trades that they can be making six figures easily just graduating out of college and not be stuck with a ton of debt. So I think the push for the trades is a big step in the right direction. And it just goes to show you again that education is not one size fits all. People have different skills and abilities. And so the best way to capitalize on everybody's skills and abilities is to let them choose the track that works best for them. That could be an academic setting, but for a lot of people don't want to just be professors, right? They want to go actually work hands-on and have a technical job, and they should be empowered to do that. And the government shouldn't be putting their thumb on the scale one way or the other. It should be driven by consumer choice. And I think the federal government should get out of the student loan business altogether, or at least try to outshore some of that.
I'm a big supporter of making universities back their own loans.
Or have them do that too, so that they can actually provide something that's valuable to students instead of strapping them down with so much debt that they'll never pay off.
You mentioned the baristas. I think I saw a thing the other day that like 50% of the hospitality industry now has a college degree.
Does it really?
And do you really need it for that? No, you don't. I mean, it seems like college is just what everybody's been expected to do. It's a 4 to 6 year party for a lot of people. Maybe you remember some of the stuff that you learned in class, but it's just a way to kind of check the box, get a piece of paper to show to an employer. But now the employers are saying this piece of paper isn't really worth the money that's put into it. So, some employers might say, oh, look, Harvard University, it's a good thing. But others might say, did you get indoctrinated with far left ideology? Maybe I don't want to hire you. Maybe you're a spoiled brat. So there's a refiguring going on. I think it's this shakeup is sorely needed in education.
Well, what's interesting, so I just looked that up, 38% of hospitality workers have a bachelor's degree.
Yeah,
so 38%.
there you go. Okay.
Well, what's amazing, we did a poll here in Arizona, I guess it was 3 years ago, and we asked, would you be more likely or less likely to hire someone from Harvard, right? And Harvard would be known as the grand standard, right? The gold standard. Mm-hmm. It was like 60% said I wouldn't hire or consider them. Yeah. I mean, think about that.
They're overqualified.
Yeah, and this is business owners. They just, I'm just not doing it. And I don't think it's even overqualified. I just think, I'm not sure what you were taught, but I'm not sure it's helpful to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's become a negative signal. I mean, really, the value of education for a long time was just that signal to the employer. But now it's become a credentialism treadmill. Everybody is kind of an arms race of sorts. But yeah, what are they actually teaching the kids? And the most elite institutions, they've kind of lowered the bar and they've gone away from merit and they've changed to being towards just immutable characteristics of the applicants. And so, yeah, a lot of people look at Harvard and they say, look, they've been in the news for a lot of craziness that the teachers and the professors are pushing into the classroom. Maybe they want an unbiased person to come working for them. Maybe they don't want a far left radical that's out there protesting on campus and engaging in retaliation against Jewish students that we saw for over the past few years. It's just, maybe employers don't want all that craziness. So it's certainly not worth the $60,000 or $70,000 they're charging at Harvard nowadays. And I also looked up at Open Secrets. If you look at where people send their money, you can look at the affiliates, people who are affiliated with Harvard University. 95% of their campaign contributions go to Democrats. So it should not have taxpayer funding. It has an endowment of over $50 billion.
No.
And they're charging all this money. Why are we subsidizing
So by the way, Corey, one thing, we've got 30 seconds left here. The one thing conservatives should be doing, I love the technical stuff, I love the trade schools, I love the entrepreneur, but we also should need a group of people like you to get PhD and get in academics and get this thing balanced out. Because it's a mess because of it. We've allowed them to take it over.
That's right. We can't cede ground to the left. We have to take over the school boards and the academic institutions.
Absolutely.
So we can't give up.
No, absolutely not. Corey, how do folks follow you and stay in touch with your work?
You can follow me on X at DeAngelis Corey. I'm a research fellow at the Heritage Foundation, so you can go to heritage.org and follow all my work there.
Fantastic. Corey DeAngelis, thank you so much for joining us. Fantastic conversation this morning. Folks, if you're not already, make sure you go to breakingbattlegrounds.vote, get signed up for our podcast, all our additional content, Substack articles. We've got Bee's Corner, which is turning into a fan favorite really quickly. So don't miss out on all that. It is all still free for the time being. We are looking at a subscription package coming up. So get in there now. Breaking Battlegrounds back next week.
Sam and I are always talking about being prepared, whether it's hurricanes in Florida, earthquakes in California, flooding in Arizona, or supply chain disruptions.
Exactly, Chuck. When pharmacies shut down, it does not matter how tough you are, you still need access to critical medicine.
That's why we trust Jace Medical. The Jace case comes with 5 life-saving antibiotics and key over-the-counter meds, so you're covered when things get disrupted.
And Jace goes beyond just the Jace case. They also offer first aid kits, daily prescriptions, and long-term nutrition with Jace Pantry. Don't wait for the next hurricane warning or natural disaster. Take control of your health and peace of mind today.
Visit jace.com and use code FUTURE at checkout for $10 off your order. That's FUTURE at JASE.com.
In today's digital world, standing out is more important than ever. Whether you're running for office, leading a cause, or hosting a vote for the cutest pet in town, you need a web domain that's simple, memorable, and action-oriented. You need a .vote web domain. It's clear, impactful, and establishes a lasting presence for your campaign. Don't wait. Head to GoDaddy.com or Name.com, type in your name.vote, and get started today. Because after all, every pet deserves a web address that's as special as they are.
Hello, Breaking Battlegrounds listeners. Did you know that private student loan debt in the United States totals about $300 billion? That's with a B. About $45 billion of that is labeled as distressed, which means people are behind on payments. Why Refi, who is a proud sponsor of our show, refinances this distressed or defaulted private student loans that others won't touch. They don't even care what your credit score is. They provide you with a custom loan payment based on your ability to pay. Why Refi is not a debt settlement company. They work with each borrower individually to tailor a loan that meets your specific financial situation and helps you pay this loan off. So, folks, if you would like to learn more how to put your mind at ease and your budget back on track, call Why Refi at 877-400-9989 and tell them Sam and Chuck sent you. You can go and look into them at YREFI, YREFY.com to get more information. They will help you reduce your monthly payment and guarantee interest rates under 6%, ensuring financial relief to you as you pay off your private student loan. Jump on that website or call them today.
Welcome back to Breaking Battlegrounds. Big thank you to our prior guests today, Ilya Shapiro and Corey DeAngelis. They were both fantastic. But a guy we're very excited to be talking to right now, Mark Lamb, running for U.S. Congress. Congressional District, is it 5 here in Arizona?
Congressional District 5 for now,
5.
Unless they change it. I don't know, but 5,
well,
yeah.
Who knows? There's a lot up in the air with that
there's
right
a lot
now.
in the air.
So how's that campaign going for you so far?
Oh, the campaign's going great. It's it's a good district for me. A third of it was Pinal County.
Yep.
And then the other 2/3, I joke, wish they were in Pinal County during COVID. But it's been, it's a really good area for me, and it's a really great district, not only for the state but nationally. It's a great district. It's a very middle income to high income district that
and
still
very
is
dynamic, growing at an incredible pace.
A lot of families, a lot of very religious people. It is just a really good district to run in, and we're polling very well. We're up by 60-something points, so it's good.
Well, so pretty close. Don't know if you're going to be able to pull that one out.
Right. Well, look, you still got to run the race.
Yeah, right.
John Kyle used to say there's only 2 ways to run for office: scared or unopposed. So, and I'm not unopposed, so I'm going to run scared.
What is the most common question you're asked when you meet with voters? What is on top of their mind?
So it does vary based on what's in the national news. I think that probably still consistently one of the top ones is border, partly because I'm so well versed in it. So immediately that's one of the issues. But I always, when I get in front of a group, I say, look, I talk for a little bit, but then I say, I really want to know what are the issues, and then I hit those issues as they talk about it. Election integrity is still a big one in the state of Arizona. Also, accountability probably seems to be the biggest across the board.
That's what Big said too.
Accountability for people. And I was listening to a podcast yesterday, and they were talking about a law that was passed, and yet the DOJ is still not following the law. And it's just, what do you do for the accountability at that point? And I think that we need we need the legislative branch to be the branch that the founding fathers designed it to be.
Not that this has anything to do specifically with you, but Massachusetts, 73% of voters passed a law to audit the state budget and spending, and the comptroller refuses.
Yeah.
The governor refuses. I mean, they're just saying
80% of Americans are for the Save America Act.
Yeah.
But the politicians in Washington, D.C., because they know it will hurt them, don't want to do it.
Well, Chris Mays has laws in Arizona she's not enforcing.
Well,
Child
Chris
predator.
Mays has a very strange view of the law in general. I mean,
that's a typical Democrat view of the law. So however I feel about it.
Right.
It doesn't matter if it's the law.
However I feel about it today.
Let's talk about the border for a minute. Okay, so let's go and say you're in there for a term. We have a Democrat in 2008. So we go back sort of to the madness of the Biden era. I'm not sure they'll quite go back as bad, but they won't be Trump-like on the border. What do you do in Congress to say, no, we're not going backwards on this again?
you've got to. So Congress a few years ago tried to push H.R. 2 across the finish line, and H.R. 2 was a pretty good bill. It wasn't perfect, but it was a pretty good bill. And the big, beautiful bill really kind of took care of some of the financial pieces of the border. But a lot of what we're working under are still executive orders. Right. And we saw through the Biden administration, those executive orders can be flipped right back to where they adversely impact Arizona and Americans. And if we don't codify into law, we didn't need that bill, the border bill. It wasn't a border bill. It was a global assistance bill. They tried to sell the Americans. And really, they knew it would never go. They tried to hurt Republicans in that last election by saying, see, they don't want a border bill. But the border bill was a disaster. It was horrible. And I was a very strong opponent of it. I fought against it. Thankfully, it didn't go through.
It would have institutionalized open borders.
100%.
What that bill was going to do.
It was going to codify in. I think they were allowing 5,000 people a day to come in, and you had to go 7 days straight before it would trigger anything to say, let's stop it. If you had one day where it was below 5,000, it would just revert back. That would be the first day again, and you'd go back to 7 days as a requirement.
The cartels are organized enough to make sure they're putting 4,999 people a day across that border.
Exactly. They'll make sure.
Yeah.
And frankly, the politicians will cover for them too. Right. And that's what we saw. And so going to your question, just to encapsulate it, we've got to codify the good executive orders that President Trump has put in place, the Remain in Mexico program, not releasing people, very, very, very strict asylum laws, extremely robust vetting processes. All of these things need to be codified in the law. And then we need to uphold the laws that are already on the books, which do protect. That's the border security piece. Right. And then there's the immigration. There's a lot of work that needs to be done on the immigration piece, because while they are intertwined oftentimes, they are two separate issues, and I think you need somebody that understands.
You just had in England 2 immigration agency, private agency heads get arrested because they were found directing immigrants to say they were LGBTQ coming from the Middle East. We know that kind of thing happens here, that immigrants are getting coaching from people.
We have it worse than that. Let me tell you how it's worse than that, because the average American doesn't see it like this. No. We have our own elected officials who represent cities and states saying, we are a sanctuary city or a sanctuary state, saying we're not going to work with ICE. The law says, USC 1324 says you cannot conceal, harbor, or shield anybody you know to be in this country illegally. I think that is more egregious than doing it on the down low. They are openly defying the law, and they are openly hurting America. And yet Americans we've been conditioned to just see this as, they want to be a sanctuary city. No, they are breaking the law when they do this. But until somebody is held accountable, will we really fix the problem?
But how do you have any actual law if you have a sanctuary city against any law? So why aren't red states then saying, when you get a Republican or a Democrat in the White House, well, I'm not going to do that either. We're a sanctuary for 2A. We are a sanctuary for the First Amendment. You don't get to do any of this stuff.
Can I tell you, years ago, Pinal County decided they initially started calling it, when they talked about doing it through the board, they wanted to be a sanctuary county for 2A, for Second Amendment. Mm-hmm. And I pulled them in and I said, please don't use that term.
Right.
Be a constitutional county.
Yeah.
Which means you enforce all the constitutional amendments and rights. We've got to do that. Don't be a sanctuary, because what you're doing is you're basically doing the same thing they're doing.
Well, you're justifying their breaking of the law.
Right. And even though the Second Amendment is obviously in the Constitution, right. And here's another thing, just to go over just a little bit off not that we want to go down this road. I don't understand how this is not a 10th Amendment violation, because the 10th Amendment says anything not enumerated in the Constitution is a state right. How are states passing laws for something that was enumerated in the Constitution, which is the Second Amendment? And I think that every state law that is contrary to the Second Amendment should be null and void. And I don't know why they don't challenge it based on the 10th Amendment.
That's a great point, and probably because the NRA has been I don't expect you to say anything here. They have been gutted over the last 20 years. Democrats have gutted them. Yeah. So you can blame the leadership, but they have also been under lawfare. and they don't exist as an effective organization to fight these things anymore.
They don't.
And we need one.
Yeah. And when we need the money to fight it, when we have an administration that should be more friendly to it, everybody stops donating. Because now, that's not an issue for our Second Amendment.
It's not under
threat. And when it comes time, when we get a Democrat in there, when we get a Biden or an Obama in there, all of a sudden now everybody's like, whoa, here's my money. We don't have a friendly administration or a friendly DOJ at that point. This is the time that we should bolster up those organizations that are fighting this.
I think that's a great point, because when you're giving them money in that time, it has to be used for legal defense, right? Because they're being attacked under lawfare. The AGs across the country, Democrat AGs, are just bleeding the coffers of every 2A organization by dragging them into court repeatedly. It's this time when, if you give them money, they can actually fight proactively.
Yes. This would be the time. The Supreme Court has shown a propensity to protect the 2A. They've beyond the party line that we've seen in a lot of decisions. Yeah. They've been strong. When they haven't been strong on a lot of things, they have been strong on 2A, and this would be the time to really dig into it if they really wanted to.
The language is fairly clear on 2A.
It's so clear. It's about the clearest language.
Well, you know what else, too?
It's clearer than a fortune cookie.
That drives me nuts. Like, we pretend like the Constitution exists in a vacuum when we have copious discussions on the record, letters going back and forth. We know what the founders were thinking when they came up with the language.
Yeah, no, exactly. So let me ask you, so explain to our audience, I don't think they understand how bad these coyotes are that bring these people who are seeking, a lot of them are seeking.
Well, I got to tell you, the coyotes around my house are killing me. Those things are louder than can
holler.
But tell us about these coyotes that bring people across the border. You've probably seen the worst of it. Explain some of it to our audience.
Believe it or not, during the Biden administration, I actually had to do a video because I was discussing coyotes, and people in the comments were like, They thought I was referring to the animal. Then I had to do a video that says, this is a coyote. This is a coyote with the drug organization.
You need to put that video back up.
I know.
This is a coyote with an Acme hammer.
Get it on your Twitter account right away.
They are bad, and they're bad right now, too. Let me tell you why, is because the border, yes, is shut down. They're not releasing people in, but that doesn't mean that people aren't still getting in. The gotaways still exist, and the coyotes become even more important now. Not only do you have the coyotes who are seasoned in bringing people across, and they traffic humans and drugs.
Right.
Okay? It's not just getting them here for a better life. When they get here, they're going to extort them for more money.
Well, and it's complementary cargo because the humans can carry the drugs.
Well, it's indentured servitude.
Right.
I mean, they're slaves.
And they get here. That's why Phoenix has and sometimes been the kidnapping capital of the world, certainly the kidnapping capital of this country, because you will find a house that has 30 illegals in it because the coyotes have brought them across. They hold them there, and they send a message to the family saying, you got to pay another $5,000 before your family member will get released. This is the type of stuff that the average American doesn't understand. But not only do you have coyotes in Pinal County and Cochise County and Pima County, we have scouts that live in those mountains that make sure that their cargo is protected from law enforcement and from rip crews. There are rip crews. There's other drug dealers that will come and steal the cargo. They will steal either the drugs or they would steal the people so that they can then extort the families for more money as well. There's so much to it. Anybody who used to say that the humane thing was an open border that's an idiotic idea and statement. It is the most inhumane thing because what it did is it opened the door for the trafficking of women and children, and it opened the door for the death of Americans through fentanyl poisoning and other drugs.
Explain what happens to the women. I don't think people I keep trying to explain this to women. They think, they're just coming across and helping them, and they pay a fee.
Let me give you an exact example, just as kind of to show what it is. We caught a woman, and she had a baggie full of pills, probably like 50 pills in this baggie. And so we asked her, we said, what are these pills? Are they fentanyl? What are they? She says, when I knew I was going to cross the border, I knew I'd be raped multiple times. These are morning after pills. Women come prepared. The Red Cross would give them a piece of paper reminding them to take their birth control because they were going to get raped coming across. Now, I'm not saying that every woman, this is their story, but an extremely concerning percentage of them, and it's not just the women, it's the children too.
Right.
And then you're putting 6-year-olds in with 15-year-olds, and you're getting rape, you're getting abuse that happens amongst a child to a child. You're getting adults that are doing it. I mean, the average American can't process the disaster that was the open border and the absolute atrocities that come along with it. And these are not cartels. They think they're these mom and pop little organizations in some little shanty on the other side of the border. These are transnational terrorist organizations that exist in 55 different countries.
Well, they're transnational terrorist multinationals. I mean, they are the scope and scale of an apple.
Yeah.
I mean, that's literally the scale of it. I know the answer to this because I worked a lot of races in southern Arizona, and it's not just the rape and all the other thing. What happens if that woman gets bit by a rattlesnake crossing the desert?
Happens all the time.
Yep.
I think in Pinal, we would probably get maybe 5 to 10, maybe a few more, depending on how trafficked it was. And we're 80 miles in, 70 miles in, 52 miles at the closest point along where the border with the reservation, the TO reservation. And so you get a lot. You get even more down on the reservation. They walk along these steep hills. If I flew you along the helicopter to show you the paths along these steep Baba Kavari mountains and other mountains, and they fall off. We had one guy, during the summer, we would do Stone Garden missions, which is the federal government has money that they allocate to local agencies to assist in the Border Patrol mission. We were Border Patrol's aviation support because most aviation for the Border Patrol cannot go 25 miles from the border.
Right.
So anything beyond that, they need help from Pima County or Pinal County. Pima County wasn't super helpful under this current administration. And so Pinal County became their workhorse. And we were flying missions almost every day. And we would find children out there. We would find people abandoned. But we had one call, because the 911 calls in the desert will go to Border Patrol. Mm-hmm. And so they do it for two reasons. The coyotes will say, let's leave somebody behind so that we can... They know our heart. They know we'll go find the one person they left behind, and they'll continue to push the group of 20 or 30 through.
Right.
Or the people are actually going to die, and they don't care, and so they just leave them. And while they're going to leave them, they may as well have a diversion.
Right. Yep.
So they call us. So we show up to this one. They say, we left this guy behind. We had the coordinates. We show up. We finally find the guy laying under a Palo Verde tree. We had to give him 3 bags of IV to bring him back. And while we were doing that, there were 7 more calls, not 911 calls on the board for people that had been lost, injured, or left behind by the cartels.
So you bring up an interesting point. So you come across a child or a woman and they've been left behind. How are they treated? Because progressives would like to say we're horrible to them. We don't take care of them at all. What is the procedures when you say you find a child wandering? What do we do?
I used to get so irritated because I'm like, says the person in New York or Washington, D.C. who's never stepped foot on the border.
Exactly. Right.
Frankly, most Arizonan politicians haven't stepped foot on the border. And they certainly haven't provided the level of care that we provide. We put our lives on the line to go rescue these people from the cartels and to rescue them from death, certain death in the deserts. We put our lives on the line to stop fentanyl from killing Americans every day. There's a video where we got into a pursuit, me and another deputy. It's on YouTube. And we track this guy through. We end up going off-road through the desert. The 2 guys get out, and in the back was a male, I think 2 females, and a child, and in the back of this little pickup truck. And the woman's feet were just blistered, destroyed.
Yeah.
Destroyed. You'll see us, and you don't see the full video of it. We're bandaging her feet. We're providing her care. None of them go into handcuffs usually when we catch them.
Right.
Unless there's 30 of them and there's 2 of us, we're going to put you in some zip
you have
cuffs
to be
and stuff.
conscious of your safety in that situation.
But we give them water. We take care of them. And then to listen to these people, the people who have no idea, some misinformed, totally political activists from D.C. or the East Coast talk about how inhumane we are. Well, shame on that.
But you recognize something because you've dealt with it on the ground yourself. That the people coming across that are paying these coyotes, these are desperate people. we need to disincentivize. We need to make it so difficult to cross that they're not going to try, because that's the humane thing to do. As long as we continue to create this opening, it's us subjecting them to this torture, and it is torture.
That's what I've been saying. We are to blame as Americans because we allowed it to happen. And we allowed that previous administration to just completely turn a blind eye to it, to the tune where we had, I think, on a conservative figure, 15 million people come in. And to this day, there are women and children in this country brought in by the cartels being raped or used in the hard labor that are praying that ICE kick in their door and save them from the nightmare that they are living in.
Which is a story you never hear. You hear a lot about NGOs.
Oh my gosh. Let's go.
Have you? Yeah, okay, exactly. Tell our audience, they don't seem useful. They seem like they're propagating it. They're pouring gasoline on the fire. Am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong. They took our tax dollars. They're to the tune of hundreds of millions of dollars. A lot of that came from a Shelter-in-Place Act, which is through DHS. They were taking money that's really designed for FEMA, for Americans, taking that money and pumping it in.
Well, it was the money that should have saved the people in Hurricane Helena.
Yes.
Right? I mean, the Americans that died.
We were dumping that into. Do you remember the video I did? I did a video, and my people were like, "Are you sure you want to do this?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm going to do it." I vetted it. I vetted it through multiple sources. I sat on it for at least a month and made sure that what I would. And then I did a video saying when people are being released, they're given a cell phone, they're given a plane ticket to wherever you want to go, and then they're given a gift card. And sometimes those gift cards were as $5,000. Oh, the media lost their mind, and they were like, "Well, Sheriff, they say you're giving misinformation." I said, "Who said that?" Yeah, the people from the East Coast,
give me a name.
Or the politicians who are the ones giving them the money.
Right.
They said, "Well, the federal government, we've asked them. They said they're not giving them." And I go, because what they're doing is they're giving the money to the NGOs, and then the NGOs are turning around and giving those phones and those plane tickets and all of those things. I don't care if you want to play cutesy with me. That's federal government money that they gave through an NGO. Furthermore, they were dumping money into the UN, and the UN right after that, within 3 weeks, there was an article that came out of me putting that video out. And if you go on Verify, it still says that my video was untruthful. But even 3 weeks later, there was an article that came out that the UN had given $1.6 billion in the way of cash and gift cards to people coming into this country illegally. Whose money do you think that is?
Exactly.
That's our money.
Right.
Exactly.
That's the UN. Nobody else has given the UN $1.6 billion.
Well, like half their funding total is ours.
Yeah.
So
how much did immigration enforcement, you doing the job the federal government should be doing, how much did that add to the Pinal County Sheriff's Office?
I'm going to answer that in one right now, but I just want to say, as far as the NGOs, that border bill that they wanted to pass was going to give another $9 billion.
It's just
$9 billion. And it specifically said in there, it said, for global migration, to go to the State Department for global migration, which would have gone to the UN. So to add that to it so people know.
I think spending
$2 billion
$9 billion to prevent global migration sounds like a great idea.
Exactly, right?
Yeah.
How did it affect Pinal County? Hugely. All of my canines are interdictors. They don't go respond to calls for service, every bit of their resources. I have a whole unit, the anti-smuggling unit, that completely dedicated to it. My helicopter, 80% of my helicopter time was for Border Patrol, Stone Guard, and those types of missions. We had countless calls where our pursuits went up 461% during the Biden administration. Our traffic stops involving human smuggling went up 300 and something percent. Well, and we were just getting clobbered.
Those pursuits and things, your deputies are careful of the public.
Yes.
But the people running from them are not.
Thank you. They're not. And we have a duty to stop them. And the problem is that law enforcement has gotten weak in many places across this country.
Yes.
And so what happens is their weakness makes people think that they can run from it, and there's no accountability for their actions. Well, we believe in accountability and consequences in Pinal County. And we'll chase you till the wheels come off because we owe it to the people to stop that threat.
I'm going to throw you a curveball that Chuck and I have talked about a little bit here, because I'm just spitballing here. I'm curious to your opinion. One of our things we've talked about is that the distance, the time between a conviction, between the punishment for a crime and the crime being committed, is limiting the effectiveness of our justice system as a deterrent. Because someone commits a murder, they're not in court for years. They traffic people, they're not in court for years, months or years. We don't connect the crime with the punishment.
That's right.
Do we need to do things to not, you don't want to be sloppy, but to
speed it up,
expedite it, get it done right, but faster?
Let me give you a personal example. My kids were killed in December of 2022 by a person driving under the influence of drugs and alcohol. Killed my 22-year-old son, my 11-month-old granddaughter, my daughter-in-law. He barely took a plea about a month ago. Here we are 3 years, more than 3 years later, we had to deal with this. And he was out running around, had gotten caught and gotten in trouble for a few more things similar in nature. 3+ years. He did get 17 years in prison. But I'm sorry. You committed the crime. He should have never have left.
He should never have been on the street.
And this is just, I'm the sheriff. You would think that they would be like, personally, I had to make a phone call before I thought the case even really started even getting going. And this was like probably a year later. And so it is unacceptable that we allow the justice system, in my opinion, while the founding fathers set up a really great justice system, we have really bad judges on many levels, federal levels, state levels, and we have good ones. But unfortunately, I think the bad ones are starting to outweigh the good ones, and we're starting to see people released based on skin color, based on their upbringing, and not being held accountable. And who gets victimized again? Other Americans.
The people, the lawyers that want to go to those lower level courts that are making those decisions, the ones that want to be there are the Democrats who want to let people go.
Yes.
Right? I mean, we talk about this problem at like the level of the Supreme Court with politicized justice, or the state Supreme Courts. It is much, much worse when you get down to the county level, when you get down to the city level with criminal activity. Judges in these areas have gotten crazy.
I have said that one of the most important, probably two important positions in your county is your sheriff and your county attorney. Look at LA, terrible county attorney, terrible laws. You can steal $950, total disaster.
Sheriff can't even do anything in that situation.
No, he fights the sheriff. You know, they fight against each other. And then you go into some of our cities and these judges, city judges, and the attorney general we talked about earlier. The attorney general is probably one of the most important state positions, because our ability to go and sue the federal government or to challenge the federal government when they're wrong or when they are overstepping their bounds and encroaching deeply into the 10th Amendment, we need an attorney general that will stand up for our state. And unfortunately, it has become political, and it's a mess.
And all this is tied, because you started out early in this interview mentioning election integrity, and Chris Mays is not the attorney general that is running a
Nor do we have the
election.
governor for that. And look, we're starting to see more and more of it. Pinal County was what I was responsible for. I worked hard to try to find we had little onesies and twosies, but large scale material fraud, we couldn't put our hands on it. But what we did was we put cameras on our ballot boxes in the 2022 election. We made sure that our recorder was cleaning up the voter rolls. We did all sorts of stuff that we could help for election integrity.
And you have a recorder there who's committed to it. You have a county that's
Dana
committed
Lewis is
to
great.
it. They've done a great job.
Yep.
But how do you stop Pima County?
Well, the two biggest counties, Pima County and Maricopa County, are really what sway this state.
Right.
Like so many other states.
Right.
They're controlled by the large municipalities. Look at California. I've spoken all over California. California is full of red-blooded Americans who are conservative, who want to be left alone, who don't want government overreach. But then you got these daggum cities. And they live, LA, San Diego, San Francisco, all of these cities dictate what happens in California, and they become hostages to bad politics. One last funny thing about California, not that I want to talk about California, their whole push, which I'm glad that the Free Enterprise Group helped killed this bill, which is the ranked choice voting in the state of Arizona. Right. I was very active on that. Would have been horrible for Arizona. They have ranked choice voting. They could very well end up with 2 Republicans on their ranked choice voting in the end. So I think that's it's a irony, karma for them.
Yeah, very much so. Our time is up here. We're taking a lot of it.
Dang, we didn't even dig into anything yet.
Why should people vote? Give us the pitch. Why should people vote for Mark Lamb?
Look, we need more cowboy hats and belt buckles in Washington, D.C., for one. But we need real, authentic Americans who are unapologetic about God, family, freedom, and the Constitution. And look, both parties have lost their way. And Americans need a champion. Americans need somebody who is proven in the battlefield. I spent my career meeting the enemy in the battlefield. I spent my career hunting those monsters, searching for the boogeyman. And we did it day in and day out. When your house is on fire or there's a burglar in your house, you're not calling your politician. No. You're calling your sheriff. Why? Because we're trained and experienced in restoring balance and order to chaos. We need somebody who's trained and experienced who will restore balance and order to the chaos that is Washington, D.C. And I couldn't think of somebody better, especially with the border still being one of those top issues. We need me. We need a real American who's going to go fight for the American people. I'm not doing it for money. Honestly, this is a huge blow to my family and our pay. It's going to cost us a tremendous amount.
I will say this because I've said it before. Thank you for doing this, but you are signing yourself up for a brutal, brutal job.
Oh, I know.
I mean, you're going to be hopping on a plane twice a week.
Sam,
it's a long.
We don't want to talk about running.
What I'm already on the ballot now. So.
Yeah, no, he's stuck. He's stuck. We've already confirmed.
This was hard.
Yeah,
this was a hard decision. It makes no sense. And I told my wife, I said, honey, bite down on your mouthpiece because this is going to get rough. Because if you stand up for the American people, it's not only going to be contrary to the left, but oftentimes the right. And there are big money people in this country who want to continue to move the way that we're moving. And when you start to stand against them and for the American people, it doesn't come without its pains.
A lot of insiders.
One thing I want you to do once you get elected and you get sworn in, I want you to go to dinner of John Fetterman. I just think the two of you would have the best dinner in the world.
Believe it or not.
I got to have it. I got to have it. It's got to happen for me.
He has become one of the more... look,
he's
I don't
liberal,
agree with
but he's just outspoken.
He's the sanest Democrat in the country right now.
He's the sanest one, and really what he is, he's trying to stand up for his people.
Right.
While his politics are very different from mine, I respect that he tries to stand up for his people, and he's not afraid to go against the grain, and you knew that when he wore a dadgum hoodie into the...
So make it happen. We want it happen. And Robert can post it on social media and say, per Chuck's request, here it is.
There we go. Yep. There we go.
Beautiful.
Guys, this has been appreciated. If you want to support me, go to marklamb.us, marklamb.us. If you want to follow me for now and support me now, you can also go to my YouTube, at Real American Sheriff. I break down YouTube videos, or body cam videos. And then we mentioned we got a ranch my kids are running, and that's at Lamb Ranch Official. So you can kind of follow what we're doing above and beyond fighting for this country. And I hope that in November, people will give me the nod and the vote, and they will have a champion in Washington, D.C.
Mark Lamb, thank you a million.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
This is Breaking Battlegrounds. We'll be right back.
All right, welcome back to Breaking Battlegrounds. Fantastic show today. Thank you to everyone involved in helping put this together, because this was a fun one. We had great guests, and we're finishing it with another great feature. We got Bee's Corner coming up right now. Do we still now have theme music for this?
This Sunday, we're going to the studio and we're getting it done.
Sunday? We got theme music?
Sunday.
All right.
Okay, so today's story, you guys covered this one with Calais back in September 2025. And just to kind of cover some points that were brought up, this is about the David murder. So this is a big one right now.
Oh, yeah.
A lot has transpired in the last month. So
we called it, didn't we? Did we call it?
No, not really, no.
No?
We thought that...
You got it wrong.
No, yeah.
Oh.
You guys thought it wasn't him. You thought that it was kind of just an attention thing, like a little music facade to get more views and more pull on the music was kind of the vibe.
Yeah, okay.
That's what it seemed like. Like listening back, that's how it was.
I'd like to believe we're infallible, but proof keeps popping up otherwise.
Oh
well, that's
gosh,
why.
yeah.
But this is a perfect example why, like, people on Twitter make these gut assumptions the first 24, 48 hours after crisis, and it always changes.
Right.
Oh my gosh,
It always changes. So, like, this
Feels
is
on this
how
one
long
too.
How long has this been now?
She disappeared in 2024.
So it's been a bit.
2020.
It's been a minute.
Yeah.
2 years. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and I mean, to add on to that, you said that there's been like a lot, like when Kylie initially talked about this, it was very social media driven, and that's why there's a lot of indiscrepancies in the stories. Like we talked about that song "Romantic Homicide." When you guys discussed that, you know, it was mentioned it was released on her birthday, and that's wildly like all over. But if you look in DistroKid, it was not. It was released July 20th. So there's a lot of like. So if you really dig into this case. But also, so starting with that song, he released that song before even meeting her, they assumed. But the song itself kind of is a little bit of foreshadowing if you now like look at the story that has transpired. So back then, you guys didn't have any details about the autopsy. Now we do. She was dismembered. We found her in the car. She was all
with a chainsaw.
They found the 2 chainsaws he purchased. They found, DNA in his garage.
Literally, I just had a chill go down. Like, oh my God, can you imagine?
So this song was released 2 years before her disappearance. Okay, and the music video, it's this girl. She's getting murdered, and she has 2 marks, like 2 blood marks, where they found the marks on Celeste. But the problem with the marks on Celeste is they couldn't see what kind of, like, how many stab wounds there were, because he stabbed her before he mutilated and dismembered her. But they couldn't see how many there were. They only found 2. And in this video, right where she was stabbed, it's in the video too, where the blood spot is. So it's kind of like foreshadowing there, like I said. But then, so Kylie mentioned that she had tattoos. They had matching tattoos.
Right.
This one.
Yeah.
That finger was gone. She had a David tattoo on her ring finger, which was gone. And I just mean the all-around chilling fact of this too, the age thing. It just that's just icky in itself. But
how big was the age difference?
She was 11 when they met, and he was 18.
Right. This wasn't a 16, 18 thing, which
or even 15.
Right.
11's you're a baby still.
Yeah, that's a whole different ballgame.
He had some issues with this because as more evidence rolls in and they found child sex abuse images on his technology.
Well,
the music video that looks like Celeste, where it's weird because it's him and Celeste killing a guy that looks like himself, but putting the body in the back of the car, getting all the tools to dismember the body, and then burying the body once it was over and resolved and he was ready to. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. There's a lot to this one.
You know what's sort of sad and funny about this is how would you all of that should have been big flashing glaring red warning signs, but the problem is as a rap artist, and I mean any artist really, when it's part of your art, no one's going to see any of those signals. They're just going to see art.
Mm-hmm. Well, when you go back into the day, like in the 90s, Death Row Records, their music, you got to look more into it, but there was a thing where your music can't be used against you in trial. It's not a form of evidence because it's art.
Right.
So but in this situation, his form of art, I mean, you got lyrics that match it. You have visuals that match it.
Right.
It's crazy. And just the things that line up, like the foreshadowing of it. I think that in his mind, he was just crazy and he had this planned. He met this girl and was just absolutely crazy for her. And she then came to him saying that she was about to expose the relationship and the underage part of it. And he went crazy.
Been a while since I had to think back to the East Coast, West Coast rapper murder spree.
Oh, yeah.
We'll
get into that.
Yeah, no,
it was 90s, wasn't it? Was it the 90s?
No. Well, because, I mean, look, my friends were, that was our music. So, it was dang it, they got another one.
Ladies, can you see Sam Stone doing rap?
Yes.
With their bandana.
Sammy Smalls.
What was your street gang name?
I'm gonna ruin myself to half our audience now. But seriously, I went to college in Oregon.
Oh, well, okay. So when do they think the trial will be?
Well, the trial's happening right now. His side is saying that he's innocent, and they're going to keep pushing for that. But they want the death penalty. They're going for the death penalty. So, and I think they're going to get it.
I hope they get it.
Yeah.
I think they're going to get it.
I hope they get it.
Speaking of that, though, Athena Strand's killer on an update, he's getting the death penalty.
Oh, really?
Uh-huh.
Who was Athena Strand again?
That was the little girl who got picked up by the FedEx guy.
Oh, yeah. He
He tried to plead insanity.
What state was that?
Texas?
Texas, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
Texas. Yeah, that's a gimme.
Right, yeah. Look,
You could bet your house on that
it's
one.
Texas. They ain't hesitating.
They already know how
There was
they're
a great
doing
Simpson episode where the video game was the trial judge and death penalty cases.
Okay, I know this is a little off topic, but like Arizona's been like not holding executions, basically claiming they can't get the right drugs. There's like 20 million different drugs that you can kill someone with.
Just give them fentanyl.
Doctor,
give them enough of something.
Yeah, no.
No more excuses. These people need to go.
Well, that's a great one today. When's your song coming out?
Sunday.
All right. Next week we'll have a new theme song.
I've been missing our theme song.
I know. She's been pokey.
Yeah.
She's been pokey.
All right.
All right, folks. Well, thank you for joining this week on Breaking Battlegrounds. And on behalf of Sydney, Brennan, Jeremy, Sam, and I, we appreciate you. You can look us up at breakingbattlegrounds.vote. You can subscribe to us on Substack or wherever you get your podcasts. And, of course, you can listen to us on 960 AM The Patriot. Have a great weekend.